Thank you.
Lisa.
All right, great. Welcome. It is Wednesday, September 27th at 6:31 p.m. And this is the Scituate Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Committee meeting. On March 29th, 2023, Governor Maura Healey signed into law a supplemental budget bill, which among other things extends the temporary provisions pertaining to the open meeting law to March 31st, 2025. Specifically, this extension has allowed public bodies such as ourselves to continue holding meetings remotely without a quorum of the public body physically present at a meeting location, and to provide adequate alternative access to remote meetings. This meeting will be recorded by Scituate Community Television and can be viewed live on Scituate Community Television Facebook Live. The recorded meeting will be available the following day on Comcast Channel 9 and YouTube Scituate Community Television. I'm going to read our commitment statement. This is a safe, secure space for all people, especially people of color, for all underrepresented people and communities. This is a space where people can bring up challenges and questions without fear. We will assume best intentions and we will treat one another with politeness and respect at all times. This committee is dedicated to these standards. We want our members and others joining our meetings to feel welcomed and respected. Thank you. So with that, and it's good to have Kate as well, I'd like to call the meeting to order. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Thanks, Angela. All right, so I'll call the roll. Ms. Gilberti.
Here.
Ms. Dre.
Yes.
Ms. Swope.
Yes.
Ms. Risha.
Yes.
And I'm a yes. Okay. So, well, let's cover the minutes real quick, and then we'll get into some other things, including introducing Carrie. So Christina got the unenviable task of putting the minutes together. Great job. I didn't have any comments. Are there others that had commentary, changes, anything else they wanted to add to the minutes? Okay, awesome. All right, so with that, I would like to propose that we accept the minutes from Tuesday, August 22nd, 2023. Do I have a second?
I'll second that, Tom.
Thank you. All right, calling the roll, Ms. Gilberti.
Yes.
Ms. Dre.
Yes.
Ms. Float.
Yes.
Ms. Risha.
Yes.
And I am a yes. Okay, great. All right, so I sent out, and before we get into that, I would like to, I think we can welcome Carrie, even though she's not officially been sworn in. I don't know who else knows Carrie. Well, I know her through one conversation. And she went in front of the select board a couple weeks ago. Is that right? And was, you know, she essentially applied. She open position on the DEI committee. We did have one open slot. I'm not even sure if it was advertised that we had an open slot, but we did. And Carrie, I'm going to stop talking and let you introduce yourself and how you kind of came to us, if you would.
Yeah, perfect. Thanks, Tom. Hi, everyone. My name's Carrie Sun, and I just recently learned that our town had a DEI committee and was very excited to hear about this. Have been passionate about DEI initiatives for a long time now, and have been looking for ways to get involved in the town. And so this felt like a perfect fit. So was able to get connected to Tom, learn about, what you all do on the committee. And then, as he mentioned, went in front of the board a couple of weeks ago, and luckily there was a seat available. So here I am, and I will make sure to get sworn in ASAP. It's on my to-do list. But for tonight, hopefully I can just sit in and listen and, kind of learn from you all. So just, 2-minute background of who I am. So I'm a resident in the town, of course, been here since 2017, married with 2 young kids. And, on the personal level, we are a biracial family. My kids are half Asian. And so, deeply personal for me that our town is always, working to be inclusive and, feeling like everyone is welcome. And so that was, the personal thing for me. And then professionally, I am a nurse practitioner. I work per diem at Boston Healthcare for the Homeless, have been involved in a number of DEI initiatives through our program. And so hopefully I can bring some of that knowledge to this committee and to our town. So thanks everyone for having me and look forward to joining.
Thanks, Carrie.
Welcome.
Thanks.
Feel free, by the way,
Welcome,
tonight, if you want to jump in and ask questions, just do it.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Sounds good.
I think we're formal and informal at the same time, if that makes any sense. But no, I love it when it's always interactive, don't get me wrong, but please ask questions as to what's going on. All right, so I think, Jamil, we only have you for the first half of the meeting, right? You've got a MECO meeting, a MECO family meeting, is that true?
That's correct. Yep, 7 o'clock. So like
All
around
right, so I'm gonna put you on the spot right out of the gate for an update, if you could, on not quite a month in to the new school year, but if you just give us an update as to what you're up to.
No, not a problem whatsoever. So welcome, Kerry. You joining a good group of people, good family of folks that just about doing some great things for the community and in collaboration with folks. The one thing that I'll share, because Tom had just mentioned, I'm going to need to leave to go meet with some of our Boston resident families on a Zoom, because it's been announced that our coordinator and director for MECO will both be leaving within a month, actually. And so in the transitional plan, we want to make sure that the families know that the love is still there, the love is strong, and that the community and the folk, the educators, everyone will still be there with them, and they'll just have a couple of faces that they can become even more familiar with if they need to contact someone directly. The search process for the director is already underway. The position is posted, and there is interest in a position that I think a number of people want to join our Scituate family. So it's a great place. So I don't think we'll have a problem getting some other folks. Daryl and Marcavius have been incredible, done great things, and they're going to continue to go on and do even more incredible things. By all means, if you haven't had a chance to meet them, I invite you to do so and to ask them any questions you may have as well. The other thing is we just finished last Friday a 6-day run of This Is Our House, which is the welcoming event and initiative and movement that reminds everyone, that celebrates, actually, not even, it's a reminder, but more so affirmation of this, our district being everyone's. Our house means everyone has a place in our district, everyone has a place in all of our schools, and that we're there to take care of each other. The theme for this year was the impact that we have when we're there for each other. That impact, I'll be remiss if I didn't mention that it was actually sparked by the way folks showed up this summer when we had 2 losses, 2 deaths in our district, a student and an alum, and folks showed up for each other. And then when this thing happened at Museum Beach, the way folks showed up for each other and for my family, all of that had incredible impact and allowed us to be in a space with love, even when love wasn't even its happiest, but still that was there, was present. And so that permeated the theme for this year's This Is Our House. And it was really powerful, wonderfully received. Again, this is the 3rd year we've done it at all of our schools. And so the beauty of it this year was that there were so many students more students were involved than before. The anticipation and the expectation for it was even that much greater. And it was just awesome to see unfold and how the students just, again, connected with it. Related to the community, and This Is Our House for the middle school and the high school, we showed the video from the beach as an example of what it's like when folks show up for each other. And so folks really absorb that fondly as well. So again, a testament to the impact of being a community coming together for folks. And the hope is that we do that for everyone. And whenever something happens, ergo what's happening with our MECO director coordinator, they're moving on to do things. Everyone, let's show up and be there. let's see. We also did for a second year in a row, we did a prelude to This Is Our House with all our neurodiverse family, all the folks that are in the neurodiverse community. We connected with them beforehand and had some time with them, and then folks actually were able to participate and be some speakers at This Is Our House for the middle schools and the elementary schools. We're going to do something special for the early childhood center as well. I'm taking more time than I wanted to. Let's see. The library and are still going to continue to do the lit community conversations. First one is going to be October 11th. And it'll be on the subject will be a conversation on the impact of being there for each other. So we're going to continue that. And if you have subjects that you want to see in the future, send them on to me or to Jesse Finney or Ann Lattenville.
So in 2 weeks.
Yep, in 2 weeks. Yep, October 11th. That'll be first one, I believe, 6 o'clock. I think we do 6 to 7. I think that's what we do it.
Okay.
And then the parental group. So all of the folks know about Kerry. If you want to join us, you can. The Lit Pack is the Love Includes and Trust Parental / Caregiver Advisory Group. We're continuing to meet. We were at a first meeting, and that group is going to continue to do what was once a pilot last spring or this past spring for 6 weeks will now become a full-on event that is the Lit Bedtime Stories. And this is where parents will read bedtime stories on the Zoom space that everyone's invited to it, but the books are geared toward elementary school kids. And so the parents are the readers of the bedtime stories. It went really well last year. So once we finalize we had one meeting, but then we decided to change it to an evening. I think we're going to have an evening meeting time. Folks have till tomorrow to reply to whether they want to change it to evening or not. And so far, most folks are saying evening time is better. Once we have that, we'll set the next meeting, and then we'll begin the process of seeing who from that group wants to be a reader, and then we'll identify if we're going to do it every week, every other week, et cetera, and then fill in the slots accordingly. Megan Gregory has agreed to continue on as she's our literacy expert for the district. She's agreed to stay on and just kind of proof the books, make sure there's nothing suspect about any of them and that they're good to go. There are no flags. We'll screen them ourselves, but then Megan will be the ultimate screener for them, like we did last year. So those are great. All of you are more than invited to be readers. It's a fun time. So just, if you want to be a reader, just shoot me an email or something. Then let's see. Bedtime stories. Now this is very premature, but my partner on this, and I call her beast mode at this point, Dina Dre, the daughter of somebody awesome on this page, is really leading an incredible charge in trying to bring something very special to Scituate. They try to keep this as, I don't know. I mean, I know we're recording this and all that, but it's not that we're getting close. What we're trying to do is celebrate someone who's an incredible war veteran and hero of Scituate, a graduate of Scituate High School, connected and definitely a pillar in the community, a historical hero, connected to the Dre family. We in our midst is someone fantastic, along with the Dre's that we know already, who's acquired this status of greatness. And a Cape Verdean male, black male, and it's great. He's the lead, I want to say the lead lieutenant. I might be, and if I'm wrong, correct me. I think he's the lead lieutenant. He's the leader of, but I think he's a lieutenant for the Golden Knights, who is an expert elite paratrooper team. So these are folks that they can jump from, I don't know, thousands and thousands of feet in the air and land in a pinpoint spot and do all the things that we just are amazed by. And so he's given incredible service, and actually will be retiring soon. But we're trying to make it possible for the Golden Knights to do a jump and land here. Well, I mean, land in Scituate somewhere. So it's very new. We're trying, and I say we, but really, Dina is on it. She's been in contact with the leadership of the armed services on a regular basis, and they are moving and rocking with her really well with this. So stay tuned. Keep it light as we get closer to it, we'll need more from the community. We'll need more from everyone to make it. Once we get to that place, we cross the bridge where they say, yes, we'll do it. We're going to really need to put some things in place and fast. We're looking at potentially Memorial Day. So we'll see how we can make that happen. That seems to be the most ideal place for it. And we already have something great that happens in Scituate for Memorial Day as well. So it'll be fantastic to have this happen. So we'll keep you tuned in with that. All right.
Where are they gonna land? The 50-yard line at the football field, or what?
If we have our way, that's where they will land.
They have landed in they do a lot of jumps in football games,
Yeah.
baseball. My nephew tells a story when he was jumping in New York. They were playing against Red Sox was playing New York Yankees. And everyone loves the military, but when they announced his name and they said Boston, he got a nice boo. He expected. But yeah, it would be wonderful to have him in Scituate as a Scituate alumni.
Wow.
So yeah,
That's
those are some great things we're trying to have happen. I think that's that. If we need regarding Metco, folks want to be part of the anchor program, you can still sign up for that. Those are folks who are residents of Scituate that are willing and able and want to be connection points for our Boston families when in general and when things are happening in Scituate. So
What is do they have? Are they both leaving on the same day? Like, what is the time frame?
good question. So Marcavius next week will be his last week, and Darryl will be with us till around November 1st.
Okay.
Mhm.
Somebody's got to pick up the step team, Jamil. Is that you?
I could, but because I'm part of an organization that actually did step, so we'll see. There's I don't want that to die either. There's some
No,
thoughts
it's really cool.
about how we can get that still rocking. So, and I think we'll probably see both of them still, even after after their evolution. I know Darryl absolutely will see him a couple of times, even if nothing else. This is our house next year, as long as we keep doing it. But I think there'll be other occasions where we'll see them because they absolutely love the place. I mean, they have their reasons for their evolution, but it's not because they don't love the place and love the people in the community.
Good to know.
Yeah.
All right, thanks. Does anybody have any questions for Jamil? Okay. All right, I appreciate it. All right. So I mean, in addition to the normal course, I did put out a couple of bullets that I think you guys hopefully saw. When did I send it? Earlier today. Just because I've had some conversations, received some emails, requests and stuff like since our last meeting basically. So I think and we would need Maura isn't here as well today. So for you, Carrie, Maura Curran, who's the chair of the select board, is also our liaison. So she does attend most of our meetings. She has a lot of conflicts as someone in her position, but in addition to her day job and everything else, so she can't make it tonight. She's been an incredible, just for you, Carrie, she's been an incredible asset for us, just especially in the early days. Bob and Maura helping explain to us how the town works, because I think just about all of us, this is our first committee. So there was a lot of learnings that we needed to understand what we could do, what we couldn't do, how to go, but what is a quorum, all that stuff. And we're still trying to figure out a lot of these things, but especially the math around a quorum, but I think I've nailed it. So anyways, Maura can't make it tonight. So this one piece is not something, it's a longer term thing, but I had a conversation with Connor Doherty. I think I finally caught up with him Monday. I think a lot of people know Connor. He's pretty active in town. He's been on a few different committees. He's a definitely a DEI advocate and gets involved in a lot of those types of things around town. I didn't know that he was actually on the advisory committee. He was on, I think he was on a beach committee before. Now he's on the advisory committee, which has a fair amount of influence in the town. So for those who hasn't, well, I'm not going to ask that because I'd be calling people out. I was going to say, who hasn't been to town meeting? But if you go to town meeting and you like, or even if you don't go and you get the booklet that they put out with all their different, see, and I'm going to get the terminology wrong, but let's call it warrants or the different articles. So this is the one that came out today for a special town meeting. There's a special town, so I'm going to use this as an example. There is a special town meeting on October 16th. And there's a warrant and there are a number of articles. This one is smaller than the annual town meeting. This has 16 articles, but it's only 7 pages. It's not too bad. Annual town meeting can be, 30, 40 pages, and it goes on for quite a while. That's a whole other issue that we've talked about as part of this committee. How do we streamline that? How do we get more people to participate? There's equity issues, I think, with regards to town meeting, but that aside, with the town meetings, you typically, the select board weighs in on every single article, and they sponsor a lot of the articles, and then ultimately it shows how they voted. This is before town meeting, but everybody has the record of it. And then the advisory committee also weighs in on every single article and votes. Okay. Hopefully I'm capturing this correctly. So Connor's on the advisory committee and he said, hey, what if the DEI committee had an audience with the advisory committee? That we could do this a number of different ways, but what if the DEI committee had an audience with the advisory committee in advance of these 2 very important meetings every year? Special town meeting that's coming up. We're kind of late for that, but special town meeting that's coming up, and the annual town meeting that's in the spring. And could we help the advisory committee look at each article with a lens of diversity, equity, and inclusion, which I think is a fantastic idea personally. And a lot of this stuff, look, you're going to fly right past it. It's unpaid bills and it's moving money from this bucket to that bucket. There's administrative things, but then there's also things like the old Stockbridge landfill, which we'll talk about in a few minutes as well, which is in an area that is with a marginalized community, underrepresented community in Scituate. And there's definitely a number of people in town that feel that it is a, I'm gonna butcher it. I wish I had Craig for this. But it's an issue that's been looked past. It's a equity issue, I think, in terms of the Department of Preservation. I'm gonna get all these words wrong, or conservation. It's been kind of can's been kicked down the road with it for a number of years. There's a healthy Cape Verdean presence in this general area, and a lot of their homes back up to what was the old town dump. And there's a school of thought that it's fairly toxic, and there are funds. I was very happy to see it's in the article, and I believe when I sent the email today, I included a note from Craig. There's a meeting a week from tomorrow in town. I think it's at the library, to talk about the Stockbridge landfill. And there's going to be representatives from the state and Scituate and so on. So that's just an example of where, you know, we could come in and do our own research, meet with the advisory committee, and make sure that each and every article is looked at through the lens of our committee. So I don't think, you know, we're in a position to, you know, like vote on it. I think but I'm just introducing the idea that was just relayed to me from Connor, which is kind of what we want as a committee anyways, right? I think as much as I think we've come up with some great ideas as a committee, there's an entire town of ideas that the more they can bring to us, I think the more that we can get done. You know, so in this case, I think we review, we talk about it, we figure out what makes sense. If this is something that we feel makes sense, we'll talk to Maura about it, talk to Bob about it, and then figure out what that means procedurally. Like, what can we do? Because we talked about a lot of ideas, including, he said, can maybe the DEI committee could put out, you know, their own document in advance of all the town meetings with a DEI report on every single article. Also a great idea. Also a lot of work. So I want to be pragmatic. Take care, Jamil. Unless you want to talk. So. Not sure if he's raising his hand or saying bye. I think he's saying bye. All right. So any comments on that? This is hot off the presses. I talked to him 2 days ago.
I was saying bye, but I think it's a good thing. And happy
Thanks,
to-
Jamil.
happy to have
Appreciate
that.
it. Take care. Any other commentary on that? We'll keep it on the agenda. Celia? Were you gonna
Yeah,
say-
Tom, I was just gonna say, I think it's a good idea to at least meet with them regularly or in advance once we know what's on the warrant. I know for me personally, I remember reviewing, I think it was the planning board had put together some plan for Scituate at one point and wishing we could actually meet with all the committees at least once per year because the work does intersect. And luckily, the document I reviewed had an equity lens embedded in it, which made me really proud of the town. And even seeing the recent news you shared about housing choice and how we've been designated one of those communities in the state reinforces that, because unfortunately, a lot of other municipalities have made news for going the opposite direction. So I think there's a lot of good stuff happening. So it's not like we have to really monitor it, but I do think it would benefit from us scanning it and at least starting out with, you know, a couple of meetings ahead of annual town meeting and ahead of the special one, and going from there to just like review it. And it's not to say we would release our opinion or recommendation to the board about everything on the warrant. Like there may be one or two items that we want to flag, and that's where we put in the effort. But I personally love the idea, and I just wish we had time to actually do more intersectional work with all of the committees.
Great. Kay, were you gonna mention something or?
Yep, I completely agree. I think it's a great idea. And I think, you know, we often sort of think back to what's our role, and our role is really advising, right?
Yeah.
To review and make recommendations. So this sounds like if we are advising the advisors, right? In our narrow scope of DEI focus, it sounds like a really great use of our time. Yeah, I think it sounds great.
Okay, cool. Yeah, Angela, were you gonna say something?
No, I was just going to agree with Kate and Celia. I think it's a great idea to review. I also agree with Celia. We would pick out what it was that we could really recommend to the board. It wouldn't be everything. And like you said, it'd be too time consuming for us to give our own report. But our charge is to advise select board. So I think that would be great to get in front of the committees.
Yeah, I mean, I think a really good example is, if you guys recall, there was language a couple town meetings ago around the Scituate police ticketing, basically people that were camping on Cole Parkway. Right, and who was camping out on Cole Parkway in certain cases? Homeless people. Right, and what the police department, the homeless were not their target, but the way that it was worded made it seem like it was the target. So Natasha, to her credit, got super involved in it, and they were able to change the language, but not until the next town meeting. Nothing was put into place that was nefarious, if that's the right word, but the whole thing could have been avoided, I think, if we would have had a look at it prior to the published warrant. Yeah. So, and if you think about timing, so the town meeting is basically in what, it's in like 3 weeks, 2.5 weeks. So, and the warrant came out today. So just thinking from a timeline standpoint, this is something that we'd probably have to start getting involved with via a couple of meetings, probably 2.5 months before the town meetings, I would guess. But again, we can get direction from more on that, and we can get direction from more. We can get direction from Connor, other people on the advisory committee. I know a few other people are on it, but Connor is such an advocate. So I was quite grateful that he reached out. So that was cool. All right. So I already talked about this a little bit. So there is a meeting on October 5th regarding the Stockbridge landfill cleanup efforts. In the warrant, the town is looking to allocate $250,000 for the purpose of continuing the required studies of the old Stockbridge capped landfill, or take any other action. So I don't know. I haven't talked to Craig in a while. Craig Diaz is one of the citizens that's really kind of spearheaded this, and they've been at this for a while, and we've talked about it in this committee before. I don't know if the purpose of the meeting on the 5th is continued education, or if it's to rally support to make sure that there's a proper quorum at town meeting to make sure that it gets voted through. I don't know. Does anybody else have an update on that? Yeah. Okay.
Did you want me to read what it says on the library's event page?
That'd be great.
It says meeting with select board TA, DPW and public regarding Stockbridge landfill. And it's from 6 to 9 p.m. that night.
All right, so, and I don't know, again, if the $250,000 is for continued studies or if that's the actual cleanup. There's a part of me that says it's continued studies. And yeah, so there've been a few meetings. This is the latest one. And what Craig has actually asked, he's actually asked me, and so I still don't know if I can go. I may have a work conflict. As of right now, it's 50-50. Craig has asked that I go to the meeting and read our commitment statement before the meeting starts, which I'm willing to do if I'm there. So I'll respond to this committee. I don't think we need to vote on whether I go to that or not. But I will, I'll let you know one way or the other if I can attend that. And I mean, all are free to join if people have an interest. I know people have conflicts and stuff, but including myself. But if I'm in Scituate, I'm going to try to go. So, okay. Next order of business, social services update. And I know, Bob, we exchanged emails and so did Maura. I did talk to Erica a handful of times. right after, in the days after our audience with the select board. Are we just wait and see at this point?
Yeah, I mean, so what happened is, I think in our presentation to the select board, I think there were 3 things that we were really suggesting that they support, just to kind of cover the whole gamut. Was we were looking at upgrading the currently vacant case manager at the Council on Aging, upgrading that to a social worker. We were looking at potentially adding an additional embedded social worker with the police department. And we were also looking at creating another case manager position that could be shared across a few different departments to assist with some of the more kind of, for lack of a better term, almost like mundane, applications for housing and things like that, that you may not have a clinician do. So that was really our proposal to the select board, which they supported. So after that, I went back, talked to Linda Hayes, who was, because really the first action item for us really was to look at that vacant case manager position in the Council on Aging. Went back to talk to Linda Hayes about that. We spoke to the kind of senior administration at town, and that's really the finance director and the town administrator. They were there obviously at the meeting. They were supportive of the idea generally as well, but they also said, that in order for us to do something like that, to create a new position, it really has to go through the same process that the town follows for all new positions. And that would really have to go through the FY25 budget process. They kind of, they made it clear, like, not that they weren't supportive of the idea, but and they liked the idea. Generally, they thought it was warranted, but there was probably a dozen other requests for similar, like, new positions, upgrades, and things like that. So they basically said, it would have to go through that regular process of sort of vetting that out and then ultimately deciding what the town wanted to fund or not. So that really kind of left us in a position we had to sort of decide, okay, well, we have a currently vacant position. We'd love to upgrade it to a social worker. But, do we really want to wait till FY25 to see if that is a possibility to happen or not, right? And one of the reasons we had originally proposed it from the senior center perspective was that we really weren't getting decent applicants even for the case manager position.
Right.
But since that time, we actually received a few we reposted it, re-advertised it. We received a couple additional applications of people who, may not have been clinicians, but they might have been in social work school, things like that. And so ultimately, it really was Linda Hayes, the Council on Aging's decision on, like, what did she want to do with this position? And so at this point, the plan is we're going to bring in some applicants and to basically see, like, who we have for the pool and make a decision. Are we going to fill this case manager position now? And then in FY25, go ahead and propose for a new social worker. So that's kind of where we are right now. If we don't get, she kind of has people filling in, helping out. We have a part-time person putting in some additional hours to help out in that regard. If we don't get sufficient applicants, we may look to just wait till FY25 to kind of advocate for the full-time permanent social worker position.
Okay.
And then the other position that we talked about was the embedded social worker with the police department. The Chief Thompson, the police chief, has been on a leave. He just actually came back this week, but in my conversations with him and with the deputy, they're still interested in that. But I think that they really feel like they want to go through a process of speaking to some other departments who have done something similar. If we were to do something like that, it would likely be independently funded through an organization like Aspire. And so they really want to talk to a couple of towns who have already worked with that organization to see if, is this working? There's been some growing pains with that new kind of effort. So that's really the kind of the update on those two positions.
Okay. So Linda's going to see if she can. It's essentially an outreach coordinator, right?
Right.
Okay, that was already there. Okay,
Yeah.
and that's one of the things we asked for too, right? So
Right. Yeah, I mean, so, right, exactly. So we would love to see just a generalist case manager who could be shared across different departments. If we fill this position now, it would be just dedicated to the Council on Aging, but if we decide to pursue a social worker in the future for the Council on Aging, that may give us the latitude to be able to, expand this case manager, that if we hire that case manager now, if we may be able to expand their reach beyond just the Council on Aging and fill that third, need that we had. So
Yeah.
that was the other reason, other sort of perspective that made it a little bit easier for us to go down this pathway, because it was something that we may ultimately want to do anyways,
Okay. All right, got it. Does anyone have any questions on that, the social services stuff? Okay. All right. Before I get into, I was going to bring Indigenous peoples back up. I did have another conversation. It was almost a month ago now, for those that know, and this was on the heels of everything that went on with Museum Beach, and then the show of support that we had at Museum Beach, and a lot of different people were together. For those that know Lauren Vitale, so Lauren Vitale has been involved with Stride in town. She does, and this is something that I need to talk to Lauren a bit more about, and probably present this a little more formally to this committee, but she does a lot of work in her day job. She's essentially a compensation consultant for the public sector. That's her day job. And she talked to me about potentially, it's early, but, and Bob, this would fall squarely into your I think into your camp, but looking at a job equity, pay equity type study for the town of Scituate. So it's just something that she reached out to me with a bunch of detail. I talked to her for probably an hour, but again, it was like a month ago. So I need to get back with her, talk about, they look at everything from, and this isn't Scituate specific, but they've done a fair amount of work with other South Shore towns. It's a national job that she has. They'll look at salary grades, attrition, hiring. Do you have trouble hiring? What's the best practice for how often you should do an audit? She said it was 5 years. Duxbury recently did one, Lexington, and so forth. And I've got some ballpark figures as to what it would cost. So that's something that, as a committee, we can at least start thinking about as to whether it's something that we think it makes sense to pursue. And it can be done on a specific department, or it can be done across all departments. Bob, are you aware of anything like that that's been done since you were on board?
Well, not necessarily with the town of Scituate hasn't done it, but there's a number of surrounding towns have done that. Hingham did one recently, and we're often involved, because what happens is what they do is they end up calling me and just with a survey basically, and they want to know the compensation of every position, how long people have been in the position, things like that. So it's Duxbury I know had done it recently. It's expensive. I know it's pretty expensive, but when a lot of communities do it just on a regular basis, particularly with they're often concerned about non-union positions. I mean, the union positions, we negotiate salary scales, and so that it's somewhat dictated by that collective bargaining process. But for some of the non-union positions, there's just more flexibility with like how you group people into certain salary ranges and things like that. So I think that's one of the reasons a lot of the towns have looked for this. You know, again, the way you're describing it also is it's a sort of equity audit, but you know, towns, we got, yeah, towns would just to kind of make sure that generally that compensation is comparable to other communities, just because it helps with recruitment.
It's more just pure comp. Yeah, I mean, I'm just
Yeah.
re-looking at my notes. She told me the projects typically take 4 to 6 months and they cost between 35 and 50,000.
Yeah. Right.
Tom, if I can chime in, so the state right now, well, a bill is moving through the state legislature that would be an update to the 2016 law that passed the state. That's the pay equity law. So it's looking at gender and racial wage gaps. And any company with over, I think it's 50 people, so it's private sector focused, will have to submit their data. Right now, there's a voluntary effort led in Boston through the Women's Workforce Council where companies submit. So this update would do a number of things, also requiring positions when posted to include salary ranges, which not every employer does right now. And there would also be for any employer with over 100 people. So again, I don't know, like if it applies to towns, let's say, you would also have to submit, I forget what it is, but you have to submit your data in a way that they would analyze it. No, sorry. The state attorney general's office would analyze it by industry and then share it. I forget how the frequency, but we could look at comp by industry through that if it, you know, passes. So I don't know. I don't know if it applies to the public sector, but I think we should wait to see or read that bill before we make a recommendation that says spend $35,000 to $50,000 when we can get that data through other means.
Okay.
Right.
I think a lot of the local municipalities, I mean, they already have to be transparent with salary bands and stuff. But I was kind of smirking when you said that, Celia, because I work for a small company and we are very aware of this bill. Because I don't want to publish salaries, but anyways, that's just my own thing. Not because I didn't think we're doing anything. There's nothing shady, but you know, it's just one of those things. But no, I am aware of that. When is that supposed to be finalized, Celia? Do you have any idea?
So there was actually a breakthrough this week. So it's in committee right now. So a vote hasn't taken place, but I think there's still negotiations underway. So I don't know if it will be this session or next, but there were just updates on it. But I could circulate the article copy to everyone on this email. My day job was involved in it, so I'm close to it like you, Tom.
Okay, cool. Thank you. All right. Let's see. I do want to touch on some Indigenous peoples stuff as we approach Indigenous Peoples Day and the other day. Does anyone else have anything else they want to bring up? Are there any updates on, like, I know, for example, you know, we talk periodically about what are the next steps with DPW. I think Celia, you and Bob may have exchanged some emails. Same with Scituate Police Department, but I think that's kind of status quo right now.
Right, no update, right, Bob? We were just checking in with Kevin before we updated our slides.
Right, and I've done that, and you know, when he was, you know, he felt it was a good reflection of our conversation, and you know, and you know, he was fine with it, with what we had put on that slide. So, but we can talk more, Celia. I did have another update, Tom. We actually, I think I had mentioned previously that the town was looking to hire a media manager. And so
Yes, that's right.
Yeah. So this would be and so we've made a hire, and that person's starting, I think next Monday. Not this coming Monday, I'm sorry, the Monday after. Her name is Kathy Regan, and she has done social media management and project management for a couple private companies like Talbot's and a few places that kind of like farm out some work. So it was so we're pretty excited about that, and I think it touches a lot of the work that we do, and that's been, it was kind of a focus of the interviews as well, and I think it'll be it'll also we'll try to make that a focus of the training, making sure that you know, this person really takes a look at, like, you know, are we reaching all the right populations? Because that's it, you know, the more we, as we were going through the process, the interview team was real. It was the town administrator and Karen Canfield from the select board and myself. And we really realized that what we needed was like someone who has done like real marketing, like has the ability to kind of understand how you reach certain people in certain communities and how you effectively communicate, and making sure that we have consistent messaging. So, you know, so I think that, you know, so we're excited about that. And I think that particularly if we sort of plant that seed, we just want to make sure, and, you know, I'll try to make sure that happens, where she understands that we really want her to be looking at that the work that she's doing from this perspective as well, like reaching those communities that we just may not be reaching.
So understanding that, you know, she's going to be drinking from the fire hose for a few weeks.
Yeah, right.
Could a few of us get an audience with her?
Yeah,
We won't scare her.
yeah, no, absolutely. No, I think that's a great idea.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, you know, and really it's going to be a pretty independent position. And I think a lot of what she's going to start, you know, she's going to hit the ground running, but I think it's a lot of it's just meeting with individual department heads, because really what happens now is it's departments that are responsible for their own social media content. So it's really getting an understanding of, you know, what are that challenges, what are people putting out. But, you know, so I would put this committee right in that mix. So I think it makes a lot of sense for them to understand, like, you know, our perspective, her to understand our perspective, and to hear it from someone other than just me too, you know.
When does she start? I know you just mentioned it.
A week from Monday.
Okay. All right, that's really good news. Is the website gonna be under her purview?
Yeah, ultimately, I mean, I think that's a lot of what her work will do.
It's
Yeah, right. But again, I mean, it's only 18 hours a week or 16 hours a week, I think. And so it's not like she's going to be responsible for all content, right? But
Yeah.
you know, but you know, it honestly, it's a brand new position, and I think it's going to sort of evolve as, you know, she's going to help sort of develop it, I think, you know.
Yeah.
And that's, we really want someone to come in with that, you know, a perspective that we've never had, like what you may see typically in the private industry in retail, you know. I mean, that actually, you know, it's a different approach to this than what we've done. And I think that may be helpful. It may be a kind of fresh perspective to this.
Yeah, okay, that's great. All right, so Indigenous people. So I guess my first update is that I mean, I think I sent this to everyone. At least the potential for a bill with the state legislature, it's not dead. It still seems to be alive. I know that there's you know, various pushes towards this. I don't know exactly where it stands. Just that I think there's a meeting in a couple weeks to, you know, try to get it however they do things in the state house, but trying to get it back on the radar. We all know that you know, the Scituate schools celebrate Indigenous Peoples Day. The town still celebrates Columbus Day, and you know, we made our push back, I guess, in the spring, and I'm not even gonna say we hit some headwinds. It's just more, there would be a lot of work to be done to change it here. that doesn't mean that you can't. So I guess two things. Well, one of which is Seth reached out to me. Seth, our intrepid AV wizard, and Seth reached out and asked if I would be interested as we approach Columbus Day in being interviewed to talk about our efforts as a committee to change it. I didn't want to say yes to doing that without getting input from the committee. I would be willing to do it, even though I hear the camera adds 10 pounds, and I'm already dealing with a lot of COVID weight. But it's okay.
Tom, can I ask you a question? When you went in front of the select board the last time, did they give the committee any advice on moving forward? Did they offer any feedback when you met with them the last time?
Yeah, the feedback was more around that there's a major education effort that needs to happen, I think, within the town, and organizing that would most likely need to be done to push something like this through, which is okay, right? Because there were various thoughts as to, okay, so could the select board just vote it in? Does it have to go to town meeting? Does it have to be a ballot? Does it have, there's a lot of different ways to get something like this done. And I think the research that we did as a committee, and a lot of that research is in the appendix of the PowerPoint deck, is that depending on the town, depending on whether it's a town or a city or what have you, and how it's governed, they went about it in different ways. There's like 3 or 4 different ways that we could get it changed, but most of which involve, it needs to be pretty grassroots and so forth, as opposed to just kind of like, getting it done under the dark of night, which we're not interested in doing that either. We should hear all the perspectives and so on. And, we know that I think within just about every town, there's been some pushback, and that's okay. But I think with education, I think some of the pushback would dissipate, but it would be a lot of work, I think. So, but it was a good discussion. I mean, there was some emotion. That's okay. Certain people, and that's okay. So, is there any objection to me doing it? Okay. All right, Seth, we'll be talking.
Fantastic. Thank you so much.
Sure. Okay. All right. And then I guess the next piece, I guess, you know what? Let me get through this interview and then we'll see as a committee. I mean, I'm perfectly happy to, I think we pushed it off for a while because we knew that this isn't something we even had enough time between shelving it and special town meeting in October. We were going into the summer. We had students involved. For those that weren't on the committee, I can't remember, Christina, if you were already on the committee or not, but the students were at the table with me, and they were incredible. So, and members of the school committee. So there are a lot of different people that were behind this and so forth, but we'd have to galvanize that. We probably have to get Stride involved because, again, we can review things and we can report on them and we can recommend them, which is ultimately what we're trying to do as a committee. But when it comes to like hardcore galvanizing grassroots and so forth, we're going to need other people to get involved with something like this and really kind of push it, potentially put out flyers and have informational meetings at the library and stuff like that, so that we know what we're getting into. So I think that's just something that we should continue to talk about. And if people have specific opinions on that and whatnot, just let me know. Okay. What else do we have? I don't personally have anything else to bring up. Does anyone have anything else that they would like to talk about that we haven't? And Carrie, for you, reach out to me anytime if you wanna, I can send you all kinds of stuff, but to help get you up to speed. And I'm sure everyone else on the committee would say the same. So. All right. So that I would like to make a motion to adjourn the meeting. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Thanks, Kate. All right, I'll call the roll. Ms. Dre,
Yes.
Ms. Swope,
Yes.
Ms. Gilberti,
Yes.
Ms. Risha,
Yes.
and I'm a yes. So it is 7:32 and the meeting is adjourned. Thanks, everyone. Appreciate it.
Everyone.